Welcome to KGXT, Gen X Talks podcast, live from Central California.
Making plans with the boys. I'm gonna hit the town. Yeah, I'm gonna make some noise. I'll push past the pain and my wounded pride. I'm gonna live it up. Yeah, stay out all night. But sure, I've had some better times. And I can't count.
Friday, they have the day up. Most of them have the day off today. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. So I could be talking to dead air. I had to re-download the butt, and it was a confusing setup to see if it was even going to go, because none of the settings were saved in here. All right, Trippy says he hears me. If Trippy can hear me, I guess that's good. So everyone listening on KGXT Radio, thank you for stopping by. It is Friday, December 6th. It's 10:30 in the morning, Los Angeles time, even though I'm not in Los Angeles. I'm far from it. Actually, out the window to my right, I can see the Sun Valley Fox's $1.2 million view of the mountains surrounding Lake Tahoe. So this is much better than broadcasting 200 feet below occupied California. Anyway, so there's good and there's bad news. The good news is I'm here. The bad news is Gen X Mom is not here. And what that means is she's not going to be chiming in. She's not going to be beating me up for the hour. In fact, I'm not even sure how long the show will go, because what we're going to do is give you guys a special edition on Saturday after we're home. So we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and do that once we get there. But we're still 1,000 miles away still. But anyway, she's just because you guys are all going to ask. We did a live stream last night. Some of you saw we did the live stream from the Sun Valley Fox's house, and it went almost 3 hours. Huge fun, a lot of good stuff, but it went 3 hours in there, and it wore her out. She had to leave the live stream. She went and sat down for a little bit, and then she got back in and put the headphones on and went back, and it just was tough. But we got back to the hotel. We made it back upstairs, and she crashed out. Now I sank into that bed. I think that's the best night's sleep I'd had in years. I had 6 solid hours where I didn't even move. So with that respect, I can't tell you how she did, because normally if I get up 5 times in the night, I can tell you if she's been awake, if she's on her iPad, if she's tossing and turning. I don't know. So I had to kind of go with what she told me this morning. And she lies. She always lies and tells me, oh, it wasn't that bad. Well, today she told me it wasn't great, which means it was horrible. Excuse me, over there in the kitchen, can you get this kitchen staff? I tell you, kitchen staff, because when the dishes fell in the sink, the things all spiked up here. She just thinks you can do whatever she wants because it's her house. St. Donna, she's absolutely lovely, but I'll tell you, day is long. Anyway, that's what you get when you broadcast from a kitchen. What do you expect? So she got up this morning, massive headache, and she tried to take some Excedrin and sleep from the hotel to here. Didn't pan out very well. She got here, went right into the spare bedroom, closed the door. She's done. I'm not sure what's going to be for the rest of the day. So that means you're stuck with me and my anecdotes. We can't go back and forth, but that also gives me the freedom to tell you things how they really happened. Yeah, unfiltered, with no more lies. You know that when the Queen, Gen X Mom says here, all you guys get is lies. You get the truth from me, you get lies from her. Isn't it refreshing to know that today we're going to get nothing but the truth? All right, so that's good for us. Good for everybody. You guys know that we'll do some quick updates. Like I said, we won't keep you guys a long time today, and then we'll do another one on Saturday. But let me give you the highlights. It was... you guys all know the reason we drove up to the Reno area is we're trying to get to our sand lot, our plot of dirt out there in Dayton, and we had to meet with some people. We cut some corners and moved some stuff around the board on there. But what we did was we ended up meeting with Christine. You remember Christine? She's married to Ben Matlock, who's never lost a case. She was out there. Sun Valley Fox joined us as usual, and we have a new player. Debbie moved on to another job. So Brian, this was our first meeting with a guy named Brian. Now what Brian does is he's like a civil engineer. He's the architect. He does the plot map. Everything kind of hinges on what he does next. But what we found out was he says, look, man, and he looks like John Lovitz. He looks like a young John Lovitz. Have you guys seen John from back in the day, in the early 80s? That's what this guy looks like, but with white hair. He has Steve Martin hair on a young John Lovitz. I think that's accurate. That's an accurate depiction. Anyway, So I had to, when I meet someone, I kind of like to straighten them out right off the bat. Like, hey, you be friendly, you be nice, you kind of joke around with them and make them feel comfortable. So not knowing this guy, I tried to do that. And I think we broke the ice quite nicely. Christine was late. Which means she claimed she was on time, but as I reminded her from Generation X, if yeah, go ahead. My volume was all the way up there. That's probably going to hurt us in the beginning. Distortion. Let me turn that down. Don't mean for the volume to go away from you guys. You guys turn your volume up because that was way too high, and that's gonna cause a problem on playback. All right, now we're where we're supposed to be. Now I'm good. I can even turn it up a little bit here on the output for KGXT. That'll help you guys some there too. All right. Balancing things out as we go, trained broadcast professional that I am. So Christine showed up at 10. That's when the meeting was. And I tried to remind her. I said, look, let me give you an old school message on this. When you're on time, you're late. When you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. And she says, well, I couldn't drive as fast as I wanted to. I couldn't speed because there was too many cops on the road. Let me point out, she drives a cop car. She drives the exact cop car the cops have in the state of Nevada, the state troopers. The exact car. And then she lists me the specs of the car. And I'm like, whoa. She goes, yeah, it's a 400 horsepower twin turbo V6. I mean, she goes through this whole thing. And I'm like, she had that memorized. She may not know what double overhead cam means or something, but she knows the words. And I said, all the more reason you should have got here on time. You're driving a cop car. Now, I looked over at the cop car while we're having this discussion. And it had in the grill a little bit of it looked like a red logo. I couldn't see quite what it was. I go, that even looks like a red light, like maybe a red light that just hadn't turned on yet. But it's a red light. And your red light's getting to go here. So, you pull up behind people, they're going to think you're a cop without your lights on. She goes, yeah. She goes, that's the logo on my grill. It's it's the Ford ST. And she goes, that means super fast. And I said, what? Well, remember, we're all standing here. Brian's there. Sun Valley Fox is there. I'm sitting there, and she goes, "Yeah, it means that it's ST that's the model of my car. My car goes super fast." I said, "Well, you know that ST doesn't, that's ST. If you were saying super fast, it'd be SF." And then she proceeds to try to explain to me how ST is really SF and it's super fast and everything. I said, "What are you talking about? How are you?" I mean, literally, this is no lie. I'm sitting there, and Sun Valley Fox is just turning away. He's like, I'm not getting involved in this one. I'm not going to go down that road. Brian has his jaw dropped like, what is she talking about? Because you remember, Brian's a civil engineer. He's kind of a nerd. He's an intellectual. This isn't making sense to him. Now, I'm just a nuts and bolts street mechanic, and it's certainly not making sense to me. In fact, in this conversation, I don't know what planet we were all transported to, but the only person it made sense to was Christine, who continued to try to explain it. I finally just chirped in and said, if I agree with you, will you just stop talking? And she goes, yeah. I said, okay, you win whatever argument you were trying to win. You win. Let's move on. So let's go back to the property. We have to go backwards for those of you that remember. I'll give you the short version of how this works. It's probably the same in every state or very similar, but we can't get an address to the property. We can't get anything done to it until we have a site plan. And the site plan has to tell you where your house is going to go, where your power is going to go, where your septic system is going to go. It has everything. And I remember asking the lady in the county, I said, what if I don't know? What if I just know where I want the power pole, but nothing else? She goes, nope. She goes, you got to submit the whole thing as a drawing. And you can make changes as you go, but you have to have a base to start with. And so then you back up like, well, I can't do this. I can't do that. Let me back up and say, okay, I need a site plan. That's where Brian comes in. And then Brian says, well, I can't do a site plan until I know where the corners of the property are. So we back up again. Now guess where we are? We're back to Duke. You guys remember Duke? And Duke's had for 2 months now. Duke has been, I don't know what he's been doing. He's been walking around with his thumb up his ass or something, not getting the job done. So, once we broke the ice with Brian, and Brian's worked with Duke, and once Brian felt comfortable, he had no problem talking smack about Duke. And I said, well, how do we get Duke going on stuff? I said, I can just go and grab him. And I said, I can just go get him and throttle him. I can grab him by the back of the neck, and I can drag him to the. And Brian was like, yeah, that's what you're going to have to do, man. In fact, if you can trick him to get to the property, just keep him here because all of his gear is in the back of his truck. I said, really? So then Christine says, well, what we'll do is we'll put 4 bottles of whiskey on each corner of the property. And then once he gets out here, we won't let him leave and say, all you got to do is get your gear out and mark the 4 corners. You can have the 4 bottles of whiskey. So that sounds like a plan. And then Brian said something very disheartening. Brian started laughing. He goes, look, I'm working with the Duke on several projects. They're all behind. He's not going to come to, getting him to move forward and stuff is not easy. And now I turned a corner just a little bit. And if you guys saw last night's live stream, we were talking with Ben Matlock was here, never lost a case, and Christine. They're both part of the live stream. We brought this up at one point because Ben and Duke are really good friends. So Ben kind of caught the wind that do I got to go drag this guy out of his office and, drag him to the property and just sit there in a chair and go, do your job. We'll talk about it when you're done. And Ben goes, no. I'll get him to do it. And everyone at the table, Sun Valley Fox, his wife, Christine, we're all sitting there going, really? Because the stories we heard when we were all standing out at the Sandlot didn't sound like that was something that could happen. I mean, there's a lot of people waiting on Duke. How are you going to be more persuasive than the other 16 people that are trying to get him to do his job? Now, I know how I'm going to persuade him. I know how I get it done. It's a whole different set of motivational skills. So we'd have to see. But you're looking at the whole thing, and Ben's like, no. This will work. I can do this. I can get the job done. I said, okay, if you're sure you can get the job done. So for now, we're leaving it up to Ben Matlock, never lost a case, to see what he can do for getting Duke motivated. Now, let's go back to Brian, the young John Lovitz with the Steve Martin hair. And that's a true story. That's what he looks like. And he was getting real comfortable. And I'll tell you the moment that Brian fell in love with me. Because it happened right there on the Sandlot out in the middle of Dayton. He did. And he was talking about what kind of a nerd he was. And he's a nerd about this and a nerd about that. He never went to just a lot of movies and he's just a nerd. I got that. And so I even chimed in. And I said, well, look, I know how it is to hang out with the group of nerds. I got you. I own a lightsaber and a phaser. I can be Star Trek or Star Wars. So I knew what he was talking about. Not everything's about sports. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of things about sports, but I could relate. So I'm trying to relate to Brian. Remember, I wanted him and I to get along. We got to get along. We got to make things go smooth. Sun Valley Fox and Christine, no, they were very clear and I don't know how to relate with a nerd. I can't get there from here. And that's, when you live your life on the cool side of things, when you're part of the cool group, when you got your hair slicked back with the dark glasses and the fast car, like the Sun Valley Fox has for years, you really don't relate to the nerds. And Christine was much the same way. When Christine was, growing up and she was the hot chick, you really don't relate to the nerds too well. So, you had to leave it to me. Now, I found an in with Brian because I need him to do me favors. I need him to be on my side. I need things to go smoothly. He's big into movie quotes. So, luckily, I know I don't have very many stories. I know I don't have a lot of adventurous stories to tell. But in this case, I had one. And I remember we were talking about movie quotes and movie lines and how everybody Brian works with can't quote movies. He goes, all these kids today, they don't know any movies. They don't know any classics. They don't remember any lines from movies they saw a week ago. And I said, I got something for you. There was an office situation I was in, and these guys had a wheelbarrow in the office trying to throw away just tons of paperwork. These were old files that had to go. And they're like, don't even shred them. Just throw them in the dumpster. So there was like 3 guys piling just stacks and stacks and stacks of papers into this wheelbarrow, way higher than it needed to be. And they're trying to move the wheelbarrow, which is now too heavy. They couldn't figure out why paper weighed so much. I'm like, well, when you have, 5 feet of it in your wheelbarrow, it gets kind of heavy. And the other 2 guys are trying to balance the papers from not falling out. I saw all this developing and I just walked by because I was doing something. And all I said was, hey, you guys are going to need a bigger boat. That's all I said. You're going to need a bigger boat. All three guys looked at me like, what? We're not using a boat. We're using a wheelbarrow. I said, yeah, I know, but what you don't know Jaws? How many of you out there already said, before I even said it, how many of you out there said the word Jaws? You said it. You knew exactly, you're like, I know the boat, I know the characters, I know the scene. You just said Jaws and you're moving on with whatever you're doing, whether you're working on cars, you're doing shuffling paperwork, or you got one earbud in one ear. You knew exactly what I said and exactly why I said it and how it fit the moment. These jabronis had no clue. Not even a little bit. And so when I told that story to Brian, he was like, I get that. That's Jaws. I get what you're saying. I mean, he sounded like Mark Wahlberg. Oh, okay. All right. So we're going to get that. Yeah, I get the movie. That's Jaws. I've seen that movie. That's a great quote. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. He sounded just like Mark Wahlberg when he was, and so you got a young John Lovitz with Steve Martin hair who sounds like Mark Wahlberg when he gets excited. And all of a sudden we hit it off. And we hit it off famously with that. As soon as I told him that story, and he loosened up, and like I told you, we go back to him. He didn't have any problems. He was even leaning towards us. I think if you look at what he was saying he wasn't just happy that I was going to find a way to work with Duke and get him going, but you almost could catch a glimpse in his eye where he was going to say, "Hey, man, if you get Duke to hurry up and do your project, can you get him to help me with mine? I mean, if you got some influence here." Now, I'm not saying that I could or I couldn't, but Brian, if you're listening to the program, anything can happen for the right amount of money. I'm just letting you know, putting it out there. Let's go old school. Let's take it brick for brick. Back anything can happen if you got the money to do it. So that's how the meeting went. It went pretty solid. We got done with all that thing. I will tell you that Brian, as a new cast member in the A team in the saga of everybody trying to get Gen X Talks to the Dayton, Nevada area, he's going to be a good addition. I think he's going to fit right in. I think he's going to be super helpful on some stuff. Yes, I know I'm already going to, I got questions yesterday. I know I'm going to get questions today. Yes, it was not all just fun and games with Brian. There was a little bit. I had to straighten him out a little bit just to make sure we're on the same page. And we started with that, didn't we? Didn't we say that in the beginning? So I'll just tell you real quick what I did, just to let him know where I stand with stuff. I said, hey, so Brian, you're going to submit a plot plan to the county, right? He goes, oh yeah, draw it up. I'll get it architecture. I'll get it drawn up and submitted. And I said, now, what happens if the county kicks it back and says, no, this isn't right? He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, who's paying for the next time you submit it? And he looked at me and I said, well, now let's just assume you turn it in. The county goes, no, you got your power pole too close to the fence. Our new rule is 10 feet, not 5 feet. And Brian quickly, and this is the analogy we're using now, he says, well, if it's a new rule, it's not my fault. And it's stop right there, Brian. This is what you're getting paid for. Now, here we are talking on a Thursday. If a new rule comes up after you and I are talking, yeah, I would understand that. Say, hey, they just made a new rule 3 days ago. I didn't know about the new rule from 3 days ago. Let me resubmit this. And even though he should know, I can see there being some confusion. But if they kick the plans back because he messed up on something he should have known about that's been a standing rule for years, I said, Brian, think about what you're telling me here. You fuck up the drawing and submit it. They don't like it. And you come back to me and say, well, I can redraw it and resubmit it, but it's going to be another $1,000. Brian, look at me, buddy. Who's paying for that? And he looked around and looked at me and said, not you? That's right. Not me. Now, if you submit something and the county comes back and says, well, your corners aren't marked right, your lot lines aren't marked right. I said, Brian, if they kick it back because of that, because of the survey, who's going to pay for the next one? And he looked at me and he goes, Duke. I said, yeah, that's right, Duke. I said, are you catching on to how this works? He goes, oh, yeah, I got you. No, we're good. I got this all figured out. We can do this. I said, oh, okay. I said, I'm not a rich man. I probably got enough money to pay for this once. I can't pay for this 3 times. So let's just get it right. And if you don't get it right, now, if I change something, if I insist on something that doesn't fly, or I change something that doesn't work, well, of course, that's my responsibility. I'm going to be reasonable, but I'm not going to pay for anybody else's fuck-ups. That's on you guys. He got it. That was the only part that I had to straighten him out. He was totally okay. He got it. I don't even think he was even nervous about it. He's like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. I got you. So yes, because you guys asked me yesterday, and I know I'm going to get questions today, so let me get out in front of it. Yes, I did straighten him out, so we're all on the same page, and we shouldn't have these conversations. But in the end, it was so comfortable because he was letting loose about Duke and his job and movie quotes. I mean, he really came around the whole way. I really like Brian a ton, so this is gonna work out well. Now, as I go to leave. That's for you who weren't watching the stream last night. As I go to leave the Sandlot way out in the middle of Dayton, everyone gets in their vehicles to leave. Brian's going to get in his truck. Sun Valley Fox moves towards his 1932 Dodge Brothers half-ton truck. Christine was getting in her cop car. My truck wouldn't start. Yeah, my truck wouldn't start. Now, I got a new truck. I mean, it's pretty brand new. And you step on the brake and you push the goddamn button. And you know what my computer told me? I didn't have the key. I didn't have the key with me. Well, now you're thinking, how could you have driven all the way from the hotel in Reno out to the Sandlot in Dayton and not have a key? Because that's how it works. If your key is close enough, your engine will start. And you can take that key and throw it in the ocean. Your engine will still run until you shut it off. Once you shut it off, you need the key close by to restart it. Well, guess who still had the key? The valet. Yep. I gave that guy $5 for bringing my truck up and warming it up, and I threw my wheelchair in the back and got in and took off, and he had the key in his pocket, and when I went to restart it in Dayton, nothing. Now, this is where things get a little complicated, and the day seemed to get a little silly for me at that point. I don't even know that I could describe all the odd little things that went on that were funny to me, a little bit silly, and most of them had to do with chicks. It had to do with women in my life, and so I'll touch on those, not a lot, because one of them's just to my right, and I don't want to get thumped in the head with a frying pan, so I'll be gentle in my conversation. St. Donna had agreed to go. Gen X mom was not doing well yesterday. That's why you didn't hear her name at the meeting. She didn't go to the meeting. She stayed back in the hotel, got another couple hours of sleep. St. Donna went to pick her up, take her to her appointment. And then when she got done with her appointment, she called me, and she was supposed to come to Mindin to be part of the live stream. And I had said, no, you got to go. So I went home with the Sun Valley Fox. We went back to Mindin. I left my truck on the property. I said, you got to go pick up the truck. She goes, why? I said, because I don't have the key. So she had to get the key from the valet. She had to go out to Dayton, to the Sandlot, and pick up the truck, and then come back into town. Well, so Sun Valley Fox and I go back to his house. We're setting everything up. The truck is sitting out there in the middle of the Sandlot in Dayton, and Gen X mom is at her physical therapy appointment in Reno. Everything's moving forward. And then Sun Valley Fox and I realized we don't have any headphones. Zero. We didn't bring any headphones. Well, that's how we take phone calls on the shows, the live streams. We can take phone calls if we have headphones to listen into the phone call. So I'm trying to, now Gen X mom is getting out of her appointment, and she's going to start heading towards the truck. Along the way, she can pick up the headphones. I can call Best Buy, have them ready, curbside pickup, ready to go. 13 phone calls later, Gen X mom is not answering her phone. 100 text messages later, Gen X mom is not answering her phone. Now I'm just pissed. Now I'm just angry. I'm like, oh my God, answer your fucking phone. She won't do it. Nope, not even a little bit. So I finally texted one final message, and I said, okay, since you're not going to answer your phone, I can track her. We track each other. I can see she's driving along the road, and I know she's a passenger, because St. Donna's driving, and she's the passenger, because they're only going like 50 miles an hour in a 70. If it had been my wife driving, they'd have been doing 85 in a 70. So I clearly know who's driving, and she's in the passenger seat. She can answer the phone if she wants to, and she doesn't want to answer the phone. So one last text message, and I said, get the truck, drive to Best Buy in Carson City and call me from the parking lot. You have to get some things. I'm not going to go over what it is. I'm not going to tell you all the possibilities. I had a plan worked out, but you refuse to answer your phone. Do not call me until you get to the parking lot. Let's just keep this simple. So I put down my phone. I'm sitting here in Sun Valley Fox's house kitchen table. He's sitting on one end. I'm sitting on the other, and we've been getting set up with all the gear for the show last night. He looks at me and he's like, she's going to call you, isn't she? I go, you know she is. I told her, do not call me. Under any circumstances, do not call me until you get to the parking lot at Best Buy. And you know, in Sun Valley Fox, that's his younger sister. He knows her. I've been married to her. I know she's going to call. She's not going to do what I tell her. She's just going to call. And as we learned last night in the live stream, she goes, yeah, I called you as soon as I got out of the car. I said, but the text message said not to. Yeah, I called you when I was sitting down in the truck. Yeah, but the text message told you not to. She goes, well, apparently I was doing whatever the fuck I wanted to do, wasn't I? I said, yeah, that's part of the problem. Doing what you wanted to do is what screwed up the conversation. If you'd just answered the phone, we'd have been okay. She goes, well, I didn't want to. So here we are. This kind of stuff, it just bewilders me. Let me back up. I told you that we left the Sandlot and I rode home with the Sun Valley Fox. We got all my gear out of my truck, put it in his truck, and then left my truck there and headed to his house. I've never seen a grown man drive so slow in my entire life. I mean, you know, we all call the first lane the grandpa lane. I got you. Do they have a lane slower than that for people that go at wagon speed? One horse wagon speed, because that's the speed he was traveling at. One horse wagon speed. That's how fast we were going. I mean, I literally could have got out and walked and arrived first at our location. But I'm not going to complain. He's doing me a favor. He's giving me a ride. My truck didn't start. His truck did start, so he threw everything in there. I can't complain too much. But then it dawned on me why my perception of where things were between Carson City and Reno and Dayton and Yerington and other towns, why they were so messed up. Because everything I had learned since I came up here, I learned through the Sun Valley Fox. I said, well, how far is it from Mindin to Reno? How far is it from Dayton to Reno? And, you know, we don't really talk in mileage. We talk in, he'll say something like, well, you can get to this town in 15 minutes. You can get to this town. It takes about an hour to get there. And I based everything on what he told me. He's older. He's wiser. He's been living here for 30 years. You figured he'd know these kind of things. But what I realized yesterday as we were driving slow everywhere we went is that everything he's told me over the past 10 months was based on his interpretation of driving slow. He tells me it takes an hour to get from Mindin to Reno when it takes about 40 minutes. And I couldn't understand. I said, well, it got here kind of quick today. You know, it should have taken us an hour to get to Reno. Traffic must have been in our favor. We did it in about 40 minutes. Then the second time you do it in 40 minutes, the third time you do it in 40 minutes, you're like, what's going on? And every town, every driving was the same way. It didn't dawn on me until driving around with him yesterday that all of the numbers he's given me are wrong because they're all based on how slow he drives. I should have asked a question. I said, hey, when I want to know something from the Sun Valley Fox, I'm going to have to be a little more specific. Hey, Sun Valley Fox, buddy, how long is it to get from Mindin to Reno in normal people time? Normal people driving, you know, just regular guys who can get the RPMs up over 2,000. You know, just to say, that's how I have to ask those questions. But it was just a dingy situation that I've been confused about for months on how all of my distances and times and charts were off, and now I know why. As I'm riding around with him, like, oh, got it. This makes sense. Does the fun stop there? No, it doesn't. So we've already explained how my dingy wife handles her stuff, right? And now we moved on to the Sun Valley Fox. There was about 9 of these, but I'm only going to give you one more. There's 9 more I could tell you. I'm going to give you one. So St. Donna's, she's puttering around her house like she does in a little kitchen and clean up and do stuff, and she feeds everybody. So if you're always hungry, you're always thirsty, she's there. She's a wonderful host. And she's got her house, she's partially got it decorated for Christmas. She's doing some stuff. And my wife was in the living room, and my wife looks at her Christmas tree because they were talking about the different colored lights on the tree. And, she likes certain colors, and Sun Valley Fox likes certain colors, and I like different colors. And I got told by every single person yesterday that I'm not allowed to like blue lights on a tree because I'm not Jewish. I'm not allowed to like blue lights on a tree. The blue lights are horrible. They're awful. They're not Christmassy. And I'm like, I would like a tree with just blue lights one time. Every single person says, well, you're not Jewish. Well, I have to be Jewish to like blue lights on a tree? I'd like that. 1 year. Am I asking too much? I've had 56 Christmases. I'd like one at some point before I die to just be blue. Elvis liked blue Christmases. Okay, I know Bing Crosby liked white Christmases, but I'd like a blue. I'm like Elvis. I'm cool like that. Anyway, back to my story. So Jennick's mom looks at the Christmas tree, and she says, oh, I love this tree. And she says, now, follow me on this. Tell me where people get lost on this. My wife's looking at the Christmas tree. Everyone's talking about the Christmas tree. And she says, oh, my gosh, Donna, you and I have the same star. And Donna goes, oh, really? Which one? And I looked over at the tree, and Sun Valley Fox looks up at the tree, and we're like, because I know everyone's thinking the same thing I am. How many stars are on this tree? I'm just not sure. I'm like, isn't the star go at the top? Isn't it just one star on the tree? I mean, we're talking about the same star on the same tree. I mean, I slowly turned my head because I didn't want to be obvious. And I turned, and I'm like, what? And then my wife is got the blank stare, and she's looking past St. Donna at me. I shrugged. I'm like, I don't know how to answer that question. And so my wife points to the top and goes, well, that star. And to which Donna says, oh, that star. Okay, well, and then there was only one person in the room who had a question about what was going on in that conversation, and it was Donna. And then right after that, everybody had a question about what was going on in the conversation, but they got through it. Listen, when I tell you I have 9 more of those, that's only because I can only remember 9. Okay, I'll give you one more, and just a silly situation. One more. Sun Valley Fox was helping me. He was helping me get ready for the show prep, and we're trying to look up jingles and intros. And St. Donna, since you're here, can I ask a favor of you? Zelly unplugged this computer, and it's going to die. She's just laying on the cord over there. And I'm not sure, that's probably Mary's phone, but she just unplugged it by laying down on it. She's being nice. She's hanging out. Zelly, she's such a good dog. Wait, I just need that end. Oh. And then I'll try to just keep it up here, and then we'll be okay. Okay. Let's see if that charged. There we go. Now we're charging again. All right. So this is another. So Sun Valley Fox helped me get ready for the show, and we're listening to jingles from commercials, and we're listening to intros for television shows. We're trying to find which ones would work better and which ones don't work better. And so one of them that we saw was Airwolf. You remember the show Airwolf? It was the intro to the TV show Airwolf in the 80s, and it was I played it. I'm like, yeah, it'd be good because it doesn't say the name, doesn't give it away. So I kept trying to record it, and I couldn't have trouble recording it, and I got it down. But every time Joe, Sun Valley Fox, heard it, you guys know his name's Joe. Every time Sun Valley Fox heard it, he'd yell from across the room, Airwolf. Is that Airwolf? Did I get it right? I go, okay, dude, it's Airwolf. It's like the 6th time I'm trying to download it and record it and play it, and he's yelling Airwolf. And then I said, stop with the Airwolf stuff. All day long, he's yelling Airwolf, Airwolf, Airwolf. And so he goes, so now St. Donna's in the kitchen. St. Donna's there. And he walks in and hears it again and yells Airwolf. And I go, yeah, it's Airwolf. Knock it off. And then a second later, I played something different that wasn't Airwolf, and he knows that. And he yells Airwolf. I go, come on, man. Then I played Airwolf again because I was playing it to shorten it up. And he goes, Airwolf. And I go, yeah, it's Airwolf. Now, he's yelled Airwolf 3 times in about 2 minutes. One time for Airwolf. One time I think it was the Flintstones intro, and he was being silly and yelled Airwolf. And then the last time was Airwolf again. And Donna turns around and goes, he is just so smart about those things, isn't he? I mean, how does he know? He's always been so clever. He's so smart about those. And I looked up, I'm like, really? It's the same song twice. He already knows what it is. This one wasn't even, I said, never mind. I'm not answering that. Sun Valley Fox was just laughing. He doubled over laughing. He's like, oh my God. Because his wife is just so blindly in love with him, so blindly supportive. He's just running. Airwolf, Airwolf, Airwolf. And he's just, isn't my husband so smart? Isn't he just, how does he do that? He's just so brilliant about, how does he recall such things? I'm like, oh my God. Well, for one, St. Donna, we've heard it 36 times before you showed up. It's a running joke. He's just being an ass right now about it. Is all Sun Valley Fox, just being a jerk. And then you're coming along praising. I said, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this anymore. That's 2 of about 9 or 10 stories. The whole day went like this. So funny to be part of things that go on like that because they just keep going. So before we get going too far away, you guys, if you didn't see the update today or you don't know what's going on, yes, we changed it on the website way before, 2 hours before, to let you guys know we were broadcasting at 10:30 and not 11. So anybody who goes, well, I don't know, why'd you guys start so late? And you didn't. Yes, we did. I also put a post on Patreon and on the General's Lunchbox and on YouTube in the community section 2 hours before. You guys complain because you don't know what's going on. Well, you have to go look. Well, why can't you tell me directly? I did. The only way I can tell you guys directly is if you join Patreon. If you're a member of Patreon, I can send you an email and just say, hey, we're running late. I'm driving across town. It's going to be 10:30 instead of 10. These are smoke signals. I can send smoke signals up in the air that everyone can see, but you have to be part of Patreon to get them. Yeah. So everyone say, I don't know what's going on. You're never on time. Look, dude, I'm doing the best I can. And I am informing everybody, but you're not making it easy when you don't give me a way to do it or you don't accept it. So shut your face. That's all I got to tell you about that one. All right. What was the other one there? I know you guys want a kid update real bad. So let me, do you want Jade and Briggs? And I'll tell you, let's go to Jade first. I looked on the cameras yesterday morning when she was supposed to be at work. She leaves for work at 5 in the morning, and her car is still home at 6:30. So I called her. I said, aren't you supposed to be at work? Yes, but I have a headache. I didn't sleep well last night. I kind of lost my shit with her. I said, you haven't worked a solid week. You haven't kept your schedule one time in the last 3 months. There's not one pay period where you've shown up every day on time and not missed a day and not been late. I said, I don't know how to make this any clearer. You're going to get fired. You're going to get fired. You cannot operate this way. I know why this particular company tolerates a lot from her and maybe from others too. They are kind of out in the middle of nowhere. They are a big, gigantic company with a big warehouse, and they specialize in parts distribution for a specific vendor at this location. And it's probably difficult to get people to drive 30 minutes to 40 minutes out to that facility and work a 12-hour shift on your feet all day hustling parts. It's probably hard to keep people in that job, even though it pays really well. It's probably tough to, especially kids. They don't want to do it. They work for a few days and go, this is too hard. I'll go do something else. So I'm sure, if I had to guess, I'm guessing, I shouldn't say I'm sure. If I had to guess, I'm going to say this particular company says, well, they're going to be late. They're going to miss days, but it's hard getting people out here. Let's just keep them on the program. Let's keep training them. Let's try to give them some leeway. I think they will get exhausted with it at some point, but when she's out there, she seems to do a very good job. So, some work is better than no work. Maybe that's their idea. I don't know much about their company, but they seem to be a very good company for what's going on, and they seem to be very tolerant and helpful. But I'm not going to be upset at them if they cut her loose, because I had to cut her loose a long time ago. So I'm very grateful for the company she's working for, and she should be too. All right. So her boyfriend situation, yeah, the guy who promised to propose to her 2 years ago showed up for Thanksgiving dinner and didn't say much the whole night, and just he's very quiet and just leaves. He comes in and sits down quietly and leaves. He does shake my hand because that one time when I met him, I said, you already fucked up. When you walk into my house, you should walk up and shake my hand first and say, hey, thanks for having me, or hey, happy Thanksgiving, or whatever you're going to do. Don't just walk in and grab a beer and sit in the corner in my house. You walk up and you say something to me personally and my wife. And so he has. Ever since I lectured him on that years ago, he does that. But then he just goes and gets the beer and sits in the corner. He's just a very quiet person. But yeah, he's got, I don't think he has any intention of marrying my daughter, and she won't believe that, and I'm not going to force it. So I kind of leave that alone. I just I don't care anymore. I'm moving in 4 months. Do what you want. Now, if you go to Briggs, we all know that Briggs moved out. We all know that he had a kind of a meltdown and moved back in. He was really at the bottom of life. He'd really hit rock bottom. And you guys all know, because we've all been there. Every one of us has found ourselves crying in our beer at some point and not doing well. And he was in the same boat. And I loaned him some money to get out of the jam he got himself in. Yes, we were very clear a long time ago about that he needed more money, and I told him no, and he was worried he was going to get this. No, I got to pay. I said, yeah, you don't. I said, believe me when I tell you, we'll get you out of this without any difficulty. And sure enough, everything worked out. So you guys don't need to keep asking me about what about the other money. It's fine. Went by the wayside like I told you it would. So with Briggs, it's all about, and by his own admission, he'll tell you, I put stuff off, and then I hurry and try to get it done, and sometimes it's too late, and the workmanship is shoddy, and then everything falls apart. So he knows what he's up against, but he doesn't change. And this was a week ago. And I told you there's good and there's bad. I'm giving you the bad first, so hold on, relax. And I would say things like I told him, I said, hey, go into the garage and get a 5-gallon bucket, like a Home Depot bucket or a Lowe's bucket. I said, clean it out and fill it up for the dogs and put it in a specific spot. Fill it to the top. Clean out the bucket real good. So the first thing he does, I think, was he filled up the kiddie pool that was out there. And I go, no, that's not what I wanted. Do it the way I told you. So he goes back out and he fills up a dog bowl, little tiny tin dog bowl. And I go, not what I wanted. And I don't know why he won't just do it the way I tell him. And then he says, well, I don't think we have a bucket. I don't know where any buckets are. Well, did you look? Well, not really. Well, then you don't know. Go do. This is the type of stuff that happens all the time. He's always taking the easy way out, the lazy way out. And then he'll tell me a story. Well, it was just easier to do the kiddie pool, or it was just easier to do the little tin bowl. It's just easier to do. It's just fine. It's fine. It's just as good. There's times when I tell him he was going to get a job. He thought he might have a job being a personal assistant for someone. And I go, don't take that job. He says, why? I said, being someone's personal assistant, if they're very busy, you have to remember 95 things and be working on 95 things a day. And when they throw stuff at you, you have to write that down and pursue it, whatever it is he told you. I go, you can't remember 3 things. And I was serious. I wasn't joking. I told them, I said, I'm telling you, that job is exactly the wrong job for you. If I tell you, go feed the dogs, go take out the trash, and go collect the chicken eggs, you forget one of them or 2 of them. You come back and you sit down and I go, are you done? Oh yeah, I'm done. You did yeah, I did what you said. And then I say, okay, did you do the dog food? Yeah, I did the dog food. I told you I did it. Did you take out the trash? Oh, yeah. I said, what about the chickens? Oh, I went out there, but I didn't get the eggs. And then he gets up and goes and does it every day, all day long. Because as soon as he gets the chore list in his head, he starts thinking about other things. He's on his phone. He's walking around. He remembers the dog food, feed the dogs, nothing else. And I told him, I said, you can't be a personal assistant unless you're willing to write everything down. And I've been trying to get you to write down 3 things. I tell him, write it down. Chicken, eggs, trash, feed the dog. No, I don't need to write it down. I got it. No, and you don't. And it's been this way since he was 8 years old. It never gets any better. It doesn't really get a lot worse, but you think by 19 he'd have some of this down. He does not. So I said, please do not take that position. You will be fired in one day. You cannot do this. You do not have the ability to do that job. And I showed him example. I said, look, I gave you 3 things. You got 1 done. And I went through many of those. I said, what about when I told you these things or this? He goes, oh, yeah. He gets it. Now, I finally I told you that I resided myself with Jade to go, I don't care anymore. Do what you want. You got 4 months before I move, 5 months before I move. Fine. Do whatever you're going to do. I'm not going to push you anymore. And same with Briggs. I said, just whatever, man. I'm just going to try to not be upset. I'll, if you ask me a question about something, I'll try to answer it for you as a parent, but I'm not trying anymore because the more I push, the more upset I get when the results are bad. The more depressed I get, the more I feel like a failure. I sit there at night and go, what did I do wrong here? And even though I'd love to blame my wife, because it's easy to blame my wife, I can't blame my wife. It comes back to me every time. So it was, we left for this trip, and I expected much of the same. Lazy. I go, in fact, I sat him and Jade on the stairs, and I go, just don't burn my house down. Please feed the dogs and don't burn the house down. Don't ruin it. Don't make it worse. Can you two just hold your shit together till I get back, please? And I'm not saying things are changed and they're better forever, but I will tell you that some of the things I've normally have to harp on Briggs about, he's doing on his own. I know these are going to sound petty and small and stupid, but if you've been a parent in the situation, you're going to understand why it really is a moment for you to raise an eyebrow and go, oh, is there hope here? He's supposed to let the dogs out every morning at 7 a.m. because they've been in the house all night and they will pee in the house. So do you think at 7:15 he's ever up letting the dogs out? No. I got to call and try to wake him up and go let the dogs out. Or I have to call Jade if she's home and say, your brother didn't let the dogs out. Because somebody please let the dog. Every time we're gone, every day, every time's the same thing. And he will not set an alarm. He will not get up. He will not go do it. He doesn't care if the dogs are pooping in the house. He's like, oh, I tried to wake up. I forgot. I didn't hear my alarm. I thought it was Thursday, not Monday. And this time I have not called him. I have not woke him up. I have not done anything. And I have looked on our security cameras, and he has been letting the dogs out on time. Last time I left, he was supposed to feed the dogs at 4:30. They get their dinner at 4:30. He just texts Jade at 3 and says, feed the dogs at 4:30, and he leaves the house. Jade doesn't even pick up her messages till 8. The dogs didn't eat till 8:45. She points the finger at him and says, well, I didn't get the message till 8, so it's not my fault. Brigger says, well, I texted her at 3. It's not my fault. And all the dogs know is they didn't get their dinner till 8:45. And both of my idiot kids blame each other. And yes, I sat him down and said, you're both stupid. I said, this is not the way you behave. Jade, you get your message. You're on your phone all day. Of course you got the message. And with Briggs, I said, it's your responsibility to make sure she gets the message, to make sure she's going to do the job, or you can't leave. You can't just send a message and hope for the best. Can't leave a note on the fridge and hope someone sees it. But it falls on deaf ears. Neither one of them listen. Yeah, okay, Dad's just yelling at us again and whatever. And so I don't bother doing it. I'm done. The dogs have been fed on time every day. Don't ask me how. Every job Brigger does. I couldn't find the Christmas lights, and I tried to plug them in, but they weren't all there, and so I didn't want to start the job till I knew I had all the lights. They were both home one day, and I said, Briggs, get on with those lights because Jade goes to work tomorrow, and you're not allowed to be on that roof alone. You're not allowed up there. Don't even do them. And now it's noon, and he goes, well, if they got to be done today. He texted me back and said, then we'll get it done today. And I was like, what? That didn't sound like my son. Okay, well, he's feeding the dogs every day. He's letting the dogs out in the morning like he's supposed to. He's waking up on his own, and now he's telling me, well, he got the attitude, if it has to be done, we'll get it done. He got it done. He sent us pictures at night. All the lights are up. They're straight. They're even. It looks good. Now, am I saying that he's a changed man? I don't know. But when he does grow up, and he will grow up because the world will chew him up and spit him out if he doesn't. He will grow up at some point. And at some point, he will have one day of behaving correctly, and then 2, and then 3, and there'll be day 10 of behaving correctly. You got to have day 1 and 2 and 3 before you can get to day 50. I'd love to see day 50 of my son has matured and is behaving correctly, and it's been 50 days. But I know he's got to go through the first ones first. So maybe these are the first 5 days of him growing up. Or maybe not. Maybe he'll slip back and be an idiot and as soon as I get home. I don't know. But I'll tell you, I'm very thankful. I'm very proud that he's making these changes on his own. I'm not calling him every minute. His mother and I are going, holy Santa Claus shit. So I'm texting going, hey, good job with the dogs. Hey, lights Christmas lights look great. I'm saying the right things at the right time to let him know that we're watching and we're behind him. And I'm not going overboard. I'm not letting Gen X mom go, oh my gosh, the Christmas lights, they're so good. They're the best Christmas lights we've ever seen. You've done such a good job. I'm so proud of you. You're going to make it in the world, because that's what she would do. She would go overboard with one little thing that goes good, one little nugget of maturity, and then she pretends that life is grand. And there's a lot of women out there that do that. They see one small little change in a good direction, and all of a sudden they're all over, oh, look he's a changed man, and things are better. No, he fucking did like 2 things right. So I couldn't have been more disappointed in Briggs 2 weeks ago, and I kind of just give up and say, I don't even care anymore. And here we are 2 weeks later, and I'm beginning to feel some pride. I'm beginning to feel like he's doing this, like he's making some changes on his own. And I'm really encouraged by that. I'm not by any means giving up on him. So this is going to be a good thing. If this track record, if he can keep disciplined, if he can keep focused, this is going to be a good thing. I'm really happy about this because Briggs has all the other qualities you can't teach a kid. If your kid is Sid from Toy Story, who dismantles and lights firecrackers onto toys and chases the neighbor's cat, you can't fix that. Kids like that are just a fucked up mess, and you know it, so do I. But you can't teach a child very easily to be loving and kind. You can't teach a child to be a wonderful individual who has compassion. You can't teach them. It's very hard to teach them to be polite. You know, either they have it in them to be to have that demeanor where they can sit down in a group of people and behave correctly, or they don't. Yes, you can teach them something, but basically what you got is what you got. And Briggs already has all those qualities. He is a very loving and kind kid. He is very generous, and he cares about people, and all those things that you can't build into someone. He's already got them. He's just lazy, and it looks like he's turning some corners on that. So he might be in the beginning of the building blocks of doing something great, which will happen someday. He won't be one of those guys who's 40 years old and still living at home trying to figure it out. No, he'll get there. I just don't know when. So I am encouraged by that right now. So there's your kid update for Jade and Briggs. And to reiterate this entire time, for those of you tuning in late, Gen X mom is curled up in the fetal position on a bed under some blankets in the spare room at the Sun Valley Fox's house, which is her older brother. She's not doing well. She has a massive headache, and she hurts really bad all over. She's been following Dr. McDreamy's thing of what to eat, what not to eat, and the pills. I think she's just overdone it. I think it was too much go, and she got up and went. And I think that brought her to this point. So she's not well. I got to drive out to Urington today and take care of some more stuff. I'm probably just going to leave her here, come back and pick her up later. I'll talk to her a little bit before I go. Yeah, I said I was going to do a short show, and here we are creeping up on an hour. So, but that's it. That's what you get. There's the update on the kids. There's the update on the Sandlot and the new players involved and how we're going to move things forward. You got a couple stories been in there. I don't really have a car story, unless you want to count that ignition key story. I think that should count as a car story. Since we get a car story, that's a good car story about the ignition key that got left in Reno, and then I drove all the way to Dayton and got stuck. That's a car story. That counts. Now, we're already Friday, so we didn't drop on time, so that means Two Bear does not have to buy donuts for the entire dealership. No, he doesn't have to. But next week we're going to make him buy dealership donuts for everybody, not just his sales department. We should make him buy donuts for the service department, the parts department, the detail shop. Oh yeah, everybody. I think he should come in with 13 boxes, stacks and stacks of Krispy Kreme donuts for everybody. We'll work on that. Now we'll also do one for you guys. We'll do some sort of a podcast Saturday or Sunday if we can. Maybe Sunday, because that's kind of a day off. We don't really have any shows. We don't have any commitments. We'll go back over some stuff and we'll do a podcast and we'll knock it down for you guys where you can hear Gen X Mom's lovely voice over the airwaves once again. But the only way you're going to know is if you're part of one of the member sites. YouTube has a membership site. It's $1. General's Lunchbox on Facebook. For all of you Facebook people, just go to the General's Lunchbox. If you can log into that one, you pay $1, you're in, and then you get all the inside information. And it's the same with Patreon. Gen X Talks Patreon, it's $1, but you also get an email letting you know what we're doing. Then you can decide what you want to do. We don't give you advertising. I've never, ever in 4 years emailed an advertisement to someone, go, hey, just so you know, Bud Light's coming back strong and you should try. I don't email you with anything other than, hey, this is what we're doing. Join us if you want to. That's it. Let's let you guys decide. All right, so it is coming up on 11:30 here. We've been on the stream for about 55 minutes. I'm going to hang up right now with you guys and turn off the KGXT radio. Thanks for listening in. And then I will start working on editing this. We'll see if I can't come up with a picture, an edit, and we'll get it posted for everybody and for everybody who didn't tune in on the radio. And then I'll clean up some of the, yes, I know. There's gold coins that need to be answered because people are still searching the country for those. The poll needs to be updated. I will try to get all my work done if I can by 1 o'clock where I can still make it out to Yerington and back. So I will do what I can. We'll keep all the content coming. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening in. Not sure where you're chiming in from around the planet, AM, FM, Sirius XM, or perhaps on the Armed Service Radio Network. Remember 2 things. Wherever you go in this world, there you are. And you look down, and that's you, baby, right there. And number 2, I got to catch you guys on the flip side because I'm out.